has carp fishing got a little bit too serious for its own good? You've got newcomers coming into the sport thinking that all that matters is catching big fish, catching 30s and 40s and sitting behind motionless rods for days on end, hoping that you might get that one bite to catch that big fish, and then being disappointed if you get that one bite and it's a smaller fish. That's not fun. That's not what carp fishing should be. So today's video is just going to be about having fun and enjoying fishing. They don't need to be big fish. You just need to enjoy yourself. That is the key part of going fishing. One of the main reasons to go fishing is to get out and enjoy yourself. So why put yourself through that cycle of thinking, I have to catch big fish, I have to get sponsored, I have to have however many likes on Instagram? Because none of that is why we go fishing in the first place. So we need to get out of that cycle. So today, like I say, it's all about having fun. I've got 3 different Nash Dwarf rods with me in £1, £2 and £3 test curve. And the idea is just to set myself a little target to try and catch one on each rod. So I know they're not going to be big fish. The lake is full of little commons, but it's just nice to have a little target and just to do something enjoyable. You don't need to spend days on end to try and catch fish and to try and enjoy yourself when you can enjoy yourself in other ways. So let's do it. Let's try and catch some fish, 3 different fish, hopefully, on 3 different rods. Let's go and find some fish. Okay, so I'm just going to drop a few bits off down here, and first things first is to have a little wander around the lake, get a bit of bait out. So prep a few little spots, a few likely looking areas. So I've got a kilo of 10mm baits and a kilo of 15mm baits. So just going to sprinkle it around a few areas and like I say, get them primed. Then hopefully today's going to be a day of just moving about, seeing where there's some bubbling, some fizzing, that sort of thing, and hopefully taking advantage of it. So let's get on with this. So yeah, it's definitely a lake where the margin's quite beneficial. So got a nice load of reeds here, and then that follows around just to a small set of lily pads. So just going to put literally half a handful of 15s. And then half a handful of 10s as well, just on the edge of the lily pads. And we'll come back to that in a bit. Let's carry them around. We've got a really nice overhanging tree there, which comes out about 15 foot from the bank. So it's definitely worth putting a few little baits down there. So again, just half a handful of 15s. It's just right in there. Obviously the ducks are straight on that, but hopefully they don't dive. And then half a handful of 10s as well. There's so many spots around the lake, you could easily bait up pretty much every margin, but obviously I don't want to do that. I want to pick about 8 to 10 little spots that I can keep moving around during the day, and then hopefully if I do have a bite somewhere, there could easily be fish on one of the other spots around the lake. So that's the plan. So I've done a couple so far. Let's carry on and find a few more nice looking areas. We all know how much carp love lily pads and cover like overhanging trees, so how good does this spot look? I'm going to put a few baits literally just down tight under this tree, because that's the bonus of little 6 foot rods. You can sneak them into places where a 12 foot would be nearly impossible. And I've actually been quite looking forward to making this video, because the idea of a 6 foot £1 test curve rod sounds really good fun. Doesn't matter what size fish you're catching, it's going to be good fun at a £1 test curve. So let's carry on, bait a few more spots and then find the most likely one. Now this is far from the most picturesque swim on the lake, but how good does it look for a bite with that big overhanging tree and that snag in the water. Got to get a little bit of bait out here. You might have noticed the ducks have been following me all the way around the lake. I've just come down to the very end of the lake, and I don't know if you can see on the camera just through there a few patches of fizzing, so got to get a little bit of bait along this corner, and to see fizzing straight away without even putting any bait out, it could be the place to start. The bubble's just coming up there as well. So yeah, that's very good corner to start in. Let's bait up this edge. So I've baited up about 7 or 8 spots now, I think, and that corner spot that I've just put a bit of bait in looks probably the best chance of a bite straight away. So I'm going to wander back, get all the rest of my gear, and then get a rod out in that corner. Fingers crossed we can get a nice quick bite. And yeah, like I say, £1 test curve to start with. As soon as I've caught one on the £1 test curve, I'm going to run back to the car, get the £2 test curve out, and carry on that way. It is 10:35 now, so I've got to about 5 o'clock here. No pressure on getting 3 bites within the day. So let's do it. Let's try and get that first one under our belt. So now I've got everything into swim, simply a case of just getting a bait on. So obviously these 6-footers are extendable. Extend that out, and then I literally tied up just a little KD rig in the car. Like I say, keeping everything nice and simple. Need next to no rig materials for that. And then I'm just going to put just one of the matching hook baits on. So a little, I use the 15mm. Actually no, let's go different. Let's use a little 10mm bottom bait just to match what I've been putting out. And then let's drop it in. There is still a little bit of bubbling going on behind the camera, so there is every chance of a quick bite. I'm going to throw this on, drop it in, and give it half hour in this swim. Nothing happens, I'll bring the rod in, start looking at the other swims and go from there. But hopefully we can get a nice quick bite and then get this £1 test curve rod ticked off, move on to the 2. All right, let's just drop this in here. There is actually still signs of movement, so let's give it a little go. Oh, it's amazing how light this setup feels compared to kind of big heavy 12-foot 3.5 test curve rods and big pits. It's nice just to have something that weighs next to nothing. There you go. All right, it's gone in at 10:54. So give it half hour, give it to about 25 past 11. And then if it's no good from there, move on to a different swim. Right, so giving it half hour in this swim and nothing has happened. So bring this in, move on to the next one. Okay, so I've seen a few fish moving about in the pads in front of me, and they don't seem to be in this little channel where I did put a bit of bait. I'm going to put one just on the edge of the pads instead. Give it half hour in here. And if this doesn't pay off, I have seen a few fish in the pads opposite me. So that'll be the next port of call, I think. But hopefully we can get one out of here and then move on to the next rod. So as you saw, that just melted off, and it doesn't matter what size they are. Like I say, it's only a £1 test curve rod, and you feel every bit of the fight. I don't think I've had as much fun playing a fish like this for a long time, and that's purely down to the test curve. The fish itself is only about £7-8 by the looks of it, but that rod is absolutely bent in half, making it really good fun. So I'll get this in, get a couple of photos with it, and then we can move on to the £2 model. Oh, thank you. That's one of three. So there we go, that is the first fish on the 1 pound test curve dwarf, and gotta say it was really good fun. He's an angry little male, so I'm not going to keep him out too long. Slip him back, and let's move on to the 2 pound test curve. Okay, so obviously time is of the essence today, so I'm going to get this rod straight back out, and I've just dropped the 1 pound test curve back to the car, which I really didn't want to do because that was really good fun. Unfortunately, I couldn't talk you through too much of it because there was one of the locals just dropped into the swim as soon as I hooked the fish, and everything I was saying to the camera he was replying to, which wasn't ideal. But yeah, on the whole, like that 1 pound test curve rod really did make catching that fish a lot more fun than it would have been on standard carp rods. So like I say, I really didn't want to be putting it back in the car, but I've now got the 2 pound out, and again 6 foot 2 pound test curve, Nash Dwarf, and hopefully we can try and get our second bite. It's just coming up to 1 o'clock now, so time is of the essence. Again, straight bottom bait, straight out the packet, and just clip a fresh lead on, and I'm in the swim opposite where I caught that last fish, so in the pads opposite where I said that the fish was showing. So hopefully we can get a second bite. But you might notice that the 2 pound version I've got with me has actually got a shrink handle rather than cork. It's personal preference. I like cork rods for, well, any sort of rod I prefer in cork, especially stalking rods. So that 1 pound test curve basically had it all for me: cork handle and a nice light rod, making everything really good fun. But like I say, this one's the shrink version. You can get all the test curves in both versions, so like I say, it's purely down to personal preference. But enough jabbering, let's get this out just into the pads. Now this is actually a swim that I haven't baited, but there's quite a few fish around here, so I'm going to drop this just on the edge, and then I'll put a couple of baits in just around where this lands. You can feel straight away, even from swinging the lead, that it's a much firmer rod. And to be honest, in this sort of situation, when you are fishing against pads, probably is the better option, because you've just got that little bit of backbone that will allow you to give the fish a bit more stick if you need to. I'll just plonk this down here. All right, 12:55. Let's give it half hour here, see what happens. If you're enjoying this sort of content, then make sure you subscribe to CARPology on YouTube, hit the little bell icon so you don't miss anything, and then follow us on our various social media channels such as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. I think that's all of them. Okay, so I'm going to apologise now. I actually lied in that last piece when talking about handle options. You can get the shrink handle in £2 and £3, but you can get the cork handle in £1, £2 or £3. So hopefully that clears it up. There are 5 options of the 6 foot rods available. But what is the point in a 6 foot rod? When do you need it? Do you need it? That's only something that you can answer. But based on today's experience, there's a lot of different uses, especially when you've got different test curves available. So a 6 foot rod, as you've seen on that first fish, makes actually catching smaller fish a lot more fun. So something like this, on this sort of venue, I wouldn't necessarily turn up to this venue to do a proper session. And I wouldn't turn up with a 12 foot, 3.5 pound rod to do a bit of stalking. That's where a 6 foot rod comes into its own. It allows you to keep mobile because it's a lot smaller, a lot lighter, and like I say, it just allows you to have more fun. This is the sort of fishing that I wouldn't normally be doing, but because I've got that little 6 foot rod, because I'm mobile, it's something that I'm doing and I'm actually really enjoying. I haven't enjoyed fishing like this for a long time. There's something nice about just keeping on the move, having minimal kit with you. Like I say, you wouldn't be doing that with a 12 foot rod. There's a reason that Alan Blair and Ollie Davies always use shorter rods, because it fits that style of angling, and that's what they do well. So that's why they're using 6 and 9 foot rods all the time. And I think with being out with Ollie over the last couple of months, doing vlogs with him, it's shown how enjoyable that sort of angling is and how you can really maximise your time. You don't need to be sitting out for days on end. The amount of times that Ollie's got a bite within 30 seconds of being in a swim, it just shows how important it is looking for fish and then capitalising on that. Once you've found them, making sure you've got a rig in the right place, all of that sort of stuff is far more important than sitting behind buzzers on a big bed of bait hoping that a whole group of fish come along. So it's all about enjoying your fishing, and it's about maximising your time, which, let's be honest, now that kind of COVID's gone out of the way, life is busier than it's ever been. So if you've got them short windows of time, if you've got a few hours of an evening, which you might not necessarily go fishing normally, chuck a 6 foot in the car and away you go. Now, obviously there are more advantages to 6 foot rods than just that. They're really good for travel. So if you want to just chuck one in your car or in a suitcase, if you're going abroad, they pack down to next to nothing. They're literally about 2 foot long. So obviously they retract and then the tip comes off as well. So it's almost essentially like a free 2 foot pieces, even though it does actually attach and it retracts into the butt rather than being a 3-piece rod. Again, another great example. It's a way of potentially fishing on holiday when you wouldn't normally be. And they have a variety of uses as well. It's not just carp fishing. Obviously you've got the £1 𝘃𝗶𝗀𝗲 version where you could be fishing for tench, for bream if that's what you like. You've got the stronger versions which you could use for spinning. So there's a whole host of different uses. Again, like I say, not just carp fishing. It could be a stalking rod in the summer, but it could be a pike rod in the winter. And again, you can use them for surface fishing. So many different uses, and I think you'd be hard pushed to say I don't have a use for a 6 foot rod in my carp fishing, because it just opens up a whole wealth of different elements and different aspects of carp fishing. Or fishing in general. Like I say, you could be using the £1 6 foot rod as a perch rod over winter. So many different uses. Like I say, I'm really enjoying being out with them today, and I'm kind of running out of time. It's 1:15 now. I need that £2 rod to go, so then I can move on to the £3. But give it another 15 minutes in this swim, and there is activity. I can see it behind the camera now, and I'm going to bait a couple of swims up as well on this bank, which I haven't baited yet because a couple of people have turned up on the original swims that I was baiting. So got to adapt to the situation. But like I say, 15 minutes more in this swim, and then we move on to the next one that looks. Oh, there's a little ghosty just behind the camera, just coming in. Never know. Yeah, let's see what happens over the next 15 minutes and go from there. Okay, so I've spent half hour in that swim down there and nothing's happened, so time to move into the next one. This is the one that I put a little bit of bait in just now, and there's a nice snaggy bush to the left of the swim, which I know this is the deeper end as well. They quite like getting down the dam wall when. So let's drop a bait straight in here. Hopefully get a bite from this one, then get the £2 𝘃𝗶𝗀𝗲 ticked off. Just ping that over there. Oh, that's a bite, that is. So we've got a bite on the £2 𝘃𝗶𝗀𝗲𝗃, 4 minutes past 2. I think it's probably the smallest fish in here. You can feel the difference between the £1 and £2. You can probably see the curve of the rod as well. It's a tiny little mirror, but is a bite on the £2, and that is the main thing that we needed. So let's get him in, and then time for a change of rod again. He's tiny. And he's in the net. Alright, fish 2 of 3. We've got 3 hours to try and get a third. I'm not going to get this one out and put it on the mat because he is literally about that big. But again, it's a nice little test for the £2 test curve, and again, you're still feeling the fight, you're still enjoying it. So even if they are in the barely a pound, it's still good fun on a short rod like that. But let's get him back, and I'm going to get the £3 test curve out the car. And yeah, like I said, we've got a few hours left to try and finish the challenge. Now, annoyingly, didn't actually get that bite on camera. I was too busy playing around with one of the other cameras, and yeah, unfortunately I realised after I landed the fish I didn't get the bite, which is a little bit frustrating, but that is the second fish and the second rod. So just running back to the car now, going to get the £3 test curve out, and got about 3 hours to try and land a third and finish, like I say, finish the challenge. So like I was saying earlier about the size of these, as you can see, once they're packed down, they're next to nothing. So they are ideal really as travel rods, and something like the £2 is a great all-round test curve for whatever it is you might be fishing for. So this is the £3, and I know already that for the sort of fish that I'm fishing for today, it is going to be a bit too powerful and a little bit over the top, but got to be done, got to finish off the challenge, and hopefully if I get a third bite nice and quickly, then I can get that £1 test curve back out, because I'd quite like to catch another one on that, because that was really good fun. I think for the size of fish that are in this lake, test curve like that just makes whatever it is that you hook really enjoyable, and I will definitely be doing more little days like this, I think, because believe it or not, I don't actually get that much time to go fishing. So like many of you, it's all about maximising the time that you do get and maximising enjoyment. So I'm going to get this one rigged up and then hopefully go and complete my challenge. Okay, so it's now 2:49, so I've got a couple of hours left to try and complete this challenge, and I'm actually back at the same set of pads that I was a couple of swims ago, because it's definitely holding fish, but I'm actually the other side of it. So I was on the right hand side earlier where there's actually a little bit of bubbling, but I have seen more activity towards the left here, so I'm just going to ping this out just kind of under the canopy. Again, this £3, you can tell just from swinging the lead that it's a much firmer rod. So that's that there. Let's give it half hour here. Like I said back at the car, this it is a little bit over the top for this venue, but it'll be good to see just how the play in action is on this one compared to the other two. So let's give it half hour and hopefully we'll get a bite. So typically it looks like the fish have moved back to the other side of the pads. I've had a few little knocks here, but something doesn't quite feel right. So whether the rig's not sitting right, I'm not sure, because there has been a little bit of activity, but I am seeing more the other side. So I'm going to take everything back round to the other one and give it a last half hour. It's quarter to 4 now. So yeah, let's move round. I'm going to bring this in because, like I say, it just doesn't feel right. I'm not sure quite what it is. but I've had a few half decent liners, the lead's moved, everything looks fine, but not sure. So let's move around and give it a go in the next swim. So there's actually quite a nice hole right in the middle of the pads, and where they're quite spread out it's going to be safe to fish it. So I think that's where I'm just going to drop this, and where that hole is, there's actually been quite a bit of movement just as I've been standing here. So I'm going to drop that in and then just put a few baits around it. That's perfect. Yeah, there's quite a bit of pad movement from where I dropped that in. So I think this could be a very good option for our final bite. Let's put that on there. Let's bring it up a little bit. So I think I might have to admit defeat on this final rod. Just cannot seem to get a bite. They're moving about in the pad still, but they're just not having it. They're not having it at all. So I'm going to give it another 5 minutes just in case. But I think that might be it. But what do you think of the 6 foot rods? Is it something that you think would be beneficial for you? If so, how would you use it? What test curve would you go for? And do you prefer cork or do you prefer shrink? There's a lot of different options and a lot of different uses. So let us know in the comments how you'd use them and what you prefer. But I think I might have to sign out. I haven't told you the best bit about these yet, have I? You can get these for as little as 50 quid, depending what test curve and what handle you go for. So not only do they make fishing really good fun, they are very affordable as well. I'll definitely be trying to keep hold of the £1 test curve, because playing that fish on that test curve, it was good fun, and it just kind of brings the buzz back. Like I said, it's not all about sizes, it's about having fun and just having a day wandering about, near enough having the lake to myself as well, in a little venue like this. Can't really want to spend a day a different way. It's ideal. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Obviously it's not like one of our standard kind of product review videos. It's a more hands-on video, and I'm just dragging this out because I want this rod to go, but it's not going to happen. So let's end it here. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.